So I want to give you guys some strategies on how to purchase real estate with no money down. I've read most of the books out there. Some of them are good, some of them not so good. I'm not going to endorse any of them. You can look at them for yourself and determine whether they're worth your time and effort. But I will give you some strategies that I have used to be able to purchase real estate. So, one strategy I don't think I've ever seen. If there was anybody, there haven't been many people that have recommended this strategy, but it's been one that I've used quite a bit. I actually got it from, I think it was Robert Kiyosaki. He talked about it in a different capacity, and I actually picked it up and I used it in my real estate investing. So, several years ago, I had an opportunity to purchase a parcel of recreational land. And ordinarily, it probably isn't something that I would have picked up, except that these were individual lots that were all lakefront. And it was owned by a doctor who was building his own personal cabin there. And he had separated all the titles, he'd done all the work in order to basically people could just either build or move on an RTM home. They were sort of turnkey. And I was able to purchase 10 lots for $100,000. And I got the doctor to carry a balloon note for 5 years at zero interest. So basically, I had 5 years that I owned these lots. I didn't have to pay anything on them. I just had to do something with them or pay him off within the next 5 years. So I bought these lots and I just sort of stuck them in my back pocket. And at some point in time said, okay, eventually I'm going to do something with these lots. And we took a mobile home and fixed it up and we put it on, we parked it on the lot, one of the lots, and then we sold it off, and sold it for 167,000. And so that gave us not necessarily a comp, but it gave us sort of a baseline as to what the market, would value the property at. So I left it at that, just sort of had them in my pocket. Then fast forward about 2 years later, I got a call from my realtor who said that an apartment building had come across her desk that fit into my portfolio perfectly. It was an older fellow. He owned, I think, about 400 doors. He was looking to retire. His wife had passed away, and he was looking to he just wanted to be done. He'd looked after these properties himself. He was his own caretaker, his own grass cutter, his own maintenance guy. And, his wife had passed away. None of his children lived in the city where he was, and he just wanted to be done. And so he was willing to carry financing on it, really great interest rate, but he wanted $200,000 down. Well, there was a problem. I didn't have $200,000. So I contacted an investor friend of mine, and I was able to get him to loan me $100,000 at a fairly reasonable interest rate. But because this gentleman had owned these properties for a very long period of time, he didn't have a lot of tenant turnover, and so the rents were super low. And as a result of that, I was concerned that if I had to borrow the entire 200,000, that I would be in a negative cash flow situation, which I did not want to be. The fellow also asked me if I could do my very best to keep the tenants that he had. They'd been with him a long time. He recognized that I had to make money on the property, but he also asked if I could keep the tenants, and I promised him that I would do my best to do that. And so, having said that, I needed to be able to give this fella $200,000 without having it cost me enough money that I would be, in a negative situation. And so I had these parcels of land, and I thought that maybe this might be something that this gentleman would be interested in. So I reached out to my realtor and I said, would this guy accept a recreational lot or several recreational lots in exchange for the $100,000 for the 200,000 of the down payment. They came back to me and said, no, he doesn't want anything. He wants 200,000 cash. That's it. It's done. And so I said, yeah, I just really feel that there's a deal to be made here, and I just need to dig a little deeper. So I knew from having conversations with the owner, and having been to his house, I knew that he loved old classic cars, like really old cars. And so I put an ad on Craigslist, Kijiji, all those sort of social media platforms. And I said, I'm looking to exchange lakefront property for an old classic car. And about 2 or 3 weeks went by, and I got a telephone call from, I think he was a dentist, and he called me up and he said, I'm interested in this. Can I see this? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we met up. We saw the property. He loved the property. He actually knew the doctor who was building this house. So there was a little bit of, I guess, whatever, collegial, camaraderie that they could, own these lakefront properties together. And so the doctor said he definitely wanted a lot. And I said, well, the lots are running for $100,000 a unit. He said, yeah, that's no problem. I can do that. And I said, well, what kind of classic car do you have? And he said, well, I have a 1965 Chevrolet Corvette convertible. And he said, I paid about $80,000 for it. He said, haven't really done anything to it. He said, it does need a little bit of work. He said, would you trade me even for that? And I'm thinking, this is right up this seller's alley. And so anyway, I went to take a look at the at the car. It was fantastic. It was in great condition. So we put together a deal super quick. He got a lakefront property right beside his doctor friend. And I got this classic car, and I hadn't even spoken to the seller as to whether or not he would even consider taking this classic car in exchange for the $100,000 that I still owed him to be able to put this apartment building deal together. So I just hopped in the car. I shined it up really nice, made it look good. It was a beautiful car. There wasn't anything wrong with it. It had like a small tear or something. It was nothing. It was beautiful. And so I hopped in the car. I drove out to see the seller. I didn't know whether he was home. I had no idea. And I just rang the doorbell. And he opened the door and he looked behind over my shoulder to see this car. And he's like, his eyes just got big like a little kid. And he was like, wow. And so he's like, where'd you get that car? And I said, I got it for you. And he's like, no way. And so, anyway, it was like a 10-year-old boy. And so, he took the car in exchange. I actually sold him the car for $120,000. So I got, a lift there from that. So I got the car for $120,000. I put $100,000 in cash. And then I got myself a really nice apartment building, which, we were able to get a nice lift on and a return and all the rest of it. So anyway, I told you that story to say that using exchanges are a super great way to avoid having to pay cash. So I got that car for a $10,000 lot, because that's what, there was 10 lots for $100,000. So they were $10,000 a lot. So I got that $80,000 car for a $10,000 lot, which I then turned around and gave to the seller for $120,000. So I got $110,000 of equity from a $10,000 lot that I hadn't even had to pay for yet. So one of the no money down strategies to really consider is exchanges. Really look to do some kind of exchanges and just get to know your seller really good, build a good relationship with them. And then when you get the opportunity, exchange for something that they really, really want, and or something of value, and you'll have a great no money down deal. Have a great day.